All right, well, thanks for joining, everybody. Appreciate it. I got 11:30 on the clock here, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is Dan Lyons at the National Weather Service in Raleigh with your routine Monday briefing. In case you haven't heard, there's an eclipse today. It seems like you can't get on social media, you can't turn on the news, you can't really go anywhere without hearing about this eclipse today. So for fun, I thought it would be kind of neat to look at kind of the weather surrounding the eclipse today. So unfortunately, the path of the eclipse didn't transfer to this map here, but basically everybody's probably seen the map. Texas through Arkansas, up into Ohio, the Great Lakes, all the way up to Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And here's a current satellite, maybe about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, this image was from. You can see quite a bit of cloud cover in the path of the eclipse. So those who made the trip to other parts of the country to see it may or may not be disappointed, depending on where they're at. Now, we're not going to see a total eclipse here by any stretch. I think the peak coverage is about 78 to 82%, somewhere in that ballpark. So it certainly won't be as extraordinary here per se, but yeah, we'll certainly see some of the effects from it. And from a meteorological perspective, don't be surprised in the least when the eclipse is occurring, if the temperature kind of steadies out, maybe even drops a degree or two during the peak of the eclipse. The eclipse is going to start generally around 2 o'clock or so across our neck of the woods, and should last till about 4:30, with the peak of the eclipse around 3:15. So if you kind of focus on North Carolina at the moment, you do see some cloud cover across the western Piedmont. It's clear here in the triangle right now, but I would not be surprised in the least if we start to see some of those clouds, especially west of here, thicken up a little bit as we get closer to that peak time. So if you happen to be tuning in across the western Piedmont right now, it's not going to be a total bust, but it's also not going to be, a clear day either, which may end up being a good thing. And if you're interested in playing along from home and you want to watch the eclipse from a different perspective, from the top down, you can go to our website, and we have a little thumbnail of some satellite imagery on there in the lower right corner of the page there. If you click on that, there's a special page set up just for the eclipse today, where the path of the eclipse is overlaid. You can even watch 1 minute imagery of the satellite data once this gets closer to starting. I think that kicks off at 1 p.m. Eastern is when that special site is going to go live. So anyway, if you're interested in checking that out from a different perspective, head to our website and you can watch the eclipse evolve from there. All right, let's talk about some other weather, because we do have some things to talk about here. Today, like I said, you saw the satellite, it's dry across the area, a little bit of cloud cover out west, but really just a nice day. Temps in the 70s, no precip to be concerned with whatsoever. But the pattern is going to turn more active by the time starting tomorrow. Tomorrow's not really going to be too active, maybe very light rain across the western Piedmont. Kind of the same story on Wednesday too, but this is all in advance of a storm system that's going to be moving from Texas, from the Gulf of Mexico, northward through the Tennessee Valley, up toward the Great Lakes during the day on Thursday, and eventually up into the eastern Great Lakes, up into Canada on Friday. That's going to push a cold front through the area, and we are expecting showers and thunderstorms across the area when that moves through. Now, some of these could be strong to severe, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more in the next slide. But Thursday is definitely going to be the busiest weather day of the week ahead. Once that system gets out of here on Friday, can't entirely rule out a stray shower, especially across the northern tier of counties, North Carolina, Virginia state line, those areas. Maybe a 20 to 30% chance of a shower during the day, but that should wrap up real quick Friday night. And then honestly, most of the weekend ahead looks pretty pleasant, with temperatures generally in the mid to upper 70s. By the time we get to Sunday, though, temps will be in the low to maybe even mid 80s in some areas. All right, so let's dive in and let's take a little bit closer of a look at Thursday, since I said that was going to be the busiest weather day that we have this week. And I want to break this down into kind of things that we're very confident in and some things that we're not so confident in. So bottom line up front, we've got really high confidence that it will rain. Okay, almost a 90 to 100% chance that it will rain across the area on Thursday. It'll be cloudy. You know, it's definitely going to look the part of a cloudy, rainy day on Thursday. Some of the rain that we do get could be heavy. Okay, we're not talking about a guarantee of widespread flooding, but given how humid it's going to be, and you'll feel it outside, some of the storms that do form could dump a pretty good amount of rainfall in a short amount of time. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. And it'll be breezy too. You're going to notice going outside during the day Thursday, it's going to be a stiff southerly breeze at about 20 to 25 miles an hour, maybe even gusts close to 30 or 35 in some areas. So we're really confident in that. Now, the low confidence is with respect to the severe weather potential, okay? And I'm going to throw another graphic on here, and it's kind of this orange oval area here. And this is the area that we're going to be watching real closely, not only in the model guidance leading up to this event, but also late Wednesday night into Thursday morning as the event is starting to unfold. Okay, now, if we see storms form initially down in this area Thursday morning, that's probably going to limit our severe weather potential across North Carolina during the day later on Thursday, okay? What'll happen is those storms will form, they'll kind of chew up some of the instability that's available down there. We'll get even more cloud cover up here, and it's just not, severe weather, wouldn't rule it out, but it's highly unlikely that things would be as bad as they could be, okay? So that's scenario number one. We see storms down there, that kind of blocks our ability to get severe weather over here, and we end up with a rainy day, but not too much in the way of severe weather threats. The other scenario is that storms do not form down there, and we get a line that comes over the mountains and races through North Carolina during the mid to late morning hours Thursday. And if that's the case, if those storms do not form out ahead of it across South Carolina and Georgia, then kind of all threats are on the table, especially damaging winds and tornadoes. The setup is very conducive for those, but again, it's really conditional depending on whether we see storms form to our south. Okay, so for the time being, we're going to continue messaging the possibility that, you know, strong damaging winds and isolated tornadoes are possible, but stay tuned for updates over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours, because that area highlighted in orange there is really going to be the primary area that we're going to be scrutinizing and taking a good close look at. So along those lines, in terms of outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center, there's really nothing here to highlight except that Thursday time period, and that's where you see that 15 to almost 30% area highlighted in yellow. Now there is a little bit of green on the map for Wednesday across the Triad and down toward, you know, the Charlotte area and pretty much all of Western North Carolina. There could be a stray rumble or two of thunder out there, but no significant threat for severe weather there really at all. The main story over the course of the next week is certainly Thursday. I had mentioned that there was a really good chance of rain, 90 to 100%. Well, certainly nothing noteworthy today, tomorrow, or Wednesday, but not shown on this map here is the outlook for Thursday, and there is a marginal risk for excessive rainfall across really the entire eastern seaboard during the day Thursday. I told you, you know, the humidities were going to be up and you would feel it outside. It's definitely going to be a pretty rich environment for heavy rainfall across all the way from Florida all the way up to Maine. So anyway, by the time we get to Thursday, there is a marginal risk for excessive rainfall. And again, that's kind of conditional as well, right? If we don't get, you know, numerous showers and thunderstorms across the area, if those storms form to our south first, we'll still get rain, but maybe it won't be that bad. So again, a lot kind of hinging on that area to our south. Let's take a look at some of these precip totals here for a minute. So today's in the upper left, nothing across the area. Tomorrow, I mentioned some very light rain, maybe a sprinkle or two. That's what you see in that light shade of green from Greensboro to Charlotte. Wednesday, we do start to see some precipitation move into the western Piedmont. Again, those totals aren't terribly high. You see some shades of green in there and maybe that first shade of blue just west of Greensboro to Charlotte. That's half an inch. That's not a significant amount really. But it's really that Thursday time period. That's where we're in the lighter blues. That's about 1 inch to 1.25 inches, maybe even 1.5 inches. And you can see that covers a pretty broad area. I know this map doesn't zoom out and touch the entire East Coast, but you can see Pennsylvania all the way down to Florida. There's blue covering that entire footprint there. And that's, again, the environment's going to be primed for heavy rain. But if we see those storms form to our south first, that might cut into those totals. So screaming message here is stay tuned. There'll undoubtedly be some updates as we get a little bit closer to the event unfolding. And then Friday, of course, everything scoots out of here. You don't see much really at all across the area, maybe a stray sprinkle or two. But again, nothing significant. Once we get the system out of here Thursday, we should be good to go. Let's briefly talk about long-term. The forecast for next week. Always hard to put too much specificity on the forecast for next week, but the overall trend, the overall pattern would be suggestive of temperatures that are above normal. Okay, so I mentioned this weekend we'll see temps in the low to mid 80s by the time we get to Sunday. That's way above normal for this time of year. Normal's generally in the low 70s. We'll probably be about 10 to 15 degrees above that. And there's a pretty good chance that above normal temperatures are going to persist for much of the next week. Now, I also mentioned that conditions are going to dry out after our storm system. The weekend looks dry, but then it looks like we do get back into an active weather pattern maybe by the middle of next week, and the odds are tilted a little bit more in favor of above normal precipitation next week as well as we get into that active weather pattern. Let's briefly take a look at some of the hazards that are in the forecast for the next couple days. Nothing today, really nothing tomorrow as well. And you really see Wednesday and specifically Thursday. Those are the days that are highlighted for severe weather, lightning, excessive rainfall, wind, things like that. And that certainly makes sense as that storm system moves through. That's what we're looking at on that day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you see some elevated fire weather concerns on there. That's really because it will be breezy at times Friday, and then maybe a little bit on Saturday and Sunday as well, but it's going to be drying out. And this is the time of year when, just a little bit of wind, even if you've had a considerable amount of rain, even a little bit of wind for a couple of days, warming temperatures, low dew points, that usually leads to some elevated fire weather concerns. And that's what we're seeing in those orange and yellow cells that are highlighted for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Last thing I want to show you here is just a quick look at the drought update. This comes out every Thursday. We had this in our slide deck a couple of days ago. Not much left in terms of drought across the state, really. Only about 1.25% of the state has an active area of drought, moderate drought, D1 in that tan color there. Some areas are abnormally dry. I'll tell you this, if the rainfall that we have forecast for Thursday comes to fruition, a lot of this may be wiped out. Probably not in time for the next drought outlook when that comes out. But, the rain that is forecast over the course of the next couple of days will certainly help put a dent in what little drought is left. Okay, so summarizing, dry today. We will have some clouds moving in. You already saw that on satellite across the western Piedmont. That's moving in this afternoon, but no precip out of that. Nothing really significant from that at all. If nothing else, maybe an inconvenience for those trying to view the eclipse this afternoon, but no sensible weather impacts from that whatsoever. Things get much busier starting on Tuesday, Wednesday. They won't be bad. We're not expecting any significant severe weather on those days. Thursday is the big day. But that is a very conditional forecast. We need to keep an eye on that area to our south in the orange there, right? Remember, we said if we see storms down there first, that'll probably limit our potential. If we don't see storms there, it may end up being a pretty busy day around here. So stay tuned. That's a screaming message I want to impart on everyone here today. Is stay tuned for further updates. We'll be refining the forecast, sending out some briefings, making some posts on social media, keeping everybody updated. But Thursday's the day everybody's going to be watching. After that gets out of here Friday, maybe a stray shower, but the weekend looks nice. Temps warming up. And then we enter kind of a continued period of above normal temps and active weather as we get into next week.